Okay. Well, there we go. It looks like I have gone live, and I've been glaringly absent for a number of days, and I didn't give you guys enough time to notice that I was going to be live streaming, and that's for a good reason. The good reason is I did not know that I was going to be live streaming until quite literally a couple minutes ago. And I'm like, okay, do I want to try this tonight? Do I want to dive in and do some live streaming? And I thought, you know, what the heck? Why not? Why not give it a try? So on this screen, we have Tahoma. Oh, hey, Nutgut. Yeah, here I are. Oh, that's funny that you would say that, because I know I've been completely out of the game here for... I haven't quit working, as far as that goes. I've been working on the cartoon, but I haven't been live streaming for several days. And I really have no excuse other than... as I mentioned several live streams ago, I had made it a recent goal to sort of bone up on technical trading. Completely of absolutely zero interest whatsoever to the people that peruse my YouTube channel. But what that looks like is something like this, where you've got these stock charts, and you'll notice that we have like dozens of alarms set so that different you know, when they go through certain price action, we're able to respond. And it turns out, even if you're taking a very long-term view, it takes a fair amount of time. I mean, it really is like a full-time job. So there it is. But here's what I've been, I have been actually making progress on the show, and I'm pretty happy with the results. So, gosh, I'd have to look at my channel to see what I did last time, but I'm thinking probably I was somewhere back in this area. So, I mean, I did like 12 seconds just today. So, Mel, he's peeking to see what's going on down there, and TNR comes out. She's got that stupid curvy knife that I was talking about the other day. And she evaluates her options, and she decides she's going up the same pathway he went up. And so he's... big reaction. She threatens him. Who are you? Me? I'm nobody. You did not see me, she says. I'm good with that. And poof! Off she goes. And now he is remembering, geez, I got to go get that letter. Yeah, okay, listen, Nutgut. I've said what I'm going to say, and I don't need to say any more. Okay? It's fun for me. It's not fun for you. It's not fun for you guys. Animation is fun. So, anyway, so good progress. I'll tell you the biggest thing for those who are of an instructional mindset, or interested in learning tips and tricks. I'll show you a trick that I have used on the last several scenes. Let's pull up 567 and I'll show you. So you guys can try this too, and you'll notice that when this renders, it's pretty sophisticated lighting going on. Okay, and the way I did it is I simply used 2 instances of the body highlighting effect. Okay, so the body highlighting effect, if we turn this one off and then turn this one off and then we put it in preview mode, you'll see what it does. Okay, so that to be sort of complete in the discussion, I would also mention that there's a gradient here in this level. It's just a quick and dirty airbrush deal, and that is overlaid over top of the entire scene. So the whole scene with all the characters and everything pipes through this overlay, and then the gradient goes on top of that. I used to do that in Krita all the time. It just adds a lot of quick and dirty sort of richness to the color, and you can see that's the difference that it makes. But hey, Claude, is Sony Vegas free? No, it's owned by Magix now. Actually, it's Magix. You can look it up, but I mean, pretty sure if you go to magix.com, they bought it from Sony. Seems like a couple of years ago. So yeah, I'm in the United States, and they have quite a bit of software for the creative individual, and they've been doing it for years and years and years. In the music world, back in the day, I used to actually use sort of a stripped-down version of Samplitude, which is a full-blown audio workstation type of thing. And then for video, obviously Vegas is sort of the flagship product. So Vegas Pro, I think the full deal probably costs, I'm guessing, probably $500 or something. But let's see if we get to a price anywhere here. Okay. So Pro, yeah, edit. So okay, yeah, I mean that's not that great. $250. This would probably be comparable to what I use, and then Suite probably just adds a bunch of stupid stuff like stock images or video, and you know, stuff like that. Now they've got a subscription model, $15 a month. So there you go. Magix. I can't speak for the company, but I'll say that they've been doing it for a long time. So anyway, back to the task at hand. What I did was I added the body highlight effect, which, as you can see, adds the rim light. So what I did was I said, well, okay, let's use the body highlight effect, and you can sort of dial in how opaque or transparent it is, like that. And then by changing the X and the Y values, you can move how much that rim light sort of encroaches in on the edges of the character. So it's very useful. But the less intuitive use of the body highlight effect is this, where I actually simply change the color from white to black and then click invert so that it inverts the effect. And so I'm actually using one instance of the body highlight to sort of tone down the overall character's colors, and then another instance to get the rim light. And it gives a nice effect, especially in a situation like this where they're outdoors, the sun's coming down pretty strong, you know, around them. So there you go. There you go. There's your trick for the day. Trick for the day. So where are we at? Well, if we come back over here to Vegas, sorry I haven't been joining streams. Claude, I haven't been streaming. I haven't streamed in like a week or something. Able to stay up possibly because the Red Bull I drank 3 days ago. Wow, nice. I don't do the energy drink thing at all. I do have coffee. I have 16 ounces of espresso first thing in the morning, but other than that, I don't do the caffeine thing too much. Anyway, so I feel like things are looking good, feeling good. Like I said, since I streamed, I've probably done about 30 seconds of show, I think. Here's what happens next. Mel's got to get that letter back. So he reaches down. That's his hand reaching down there. And he peeks underneath the tent where TNR came out just a few moments earlier. That's a silhouette. You can see a silhouette of him. He's looking in and he sees the bag. The bag has the letter in it, right? So smash zoom on the bag. His hand grabs the bag. And he's happy. Yay, I found the bag. But then Fala, the servant girl, returns. And, of course, he doesn't want to get caught. So she realizes that TNR is gone. Mel slips out. Poof! He pokes out the bag. Fala says TNR, and that's pretty much the end of her part of the scene. Thanks, Nage-san. And then Mel, he's got his bag. He's outside the tent. He looks in the bag, and of course, it's empty. Now, this is the part about this. I was looking at this before I live streamed, and I was kind of shocked. We're down to, well, you got this whole wedding ceremony situation with Golek, the bad guy, and the prince. they realize that Tianara's gone, so the girl that the prince is supposed to marry is gone. And they find the letter. They suspect that Asher's the one behind it. Mel's back here listening in and figuring out how he's going to make his escape. And they basically resolve that this is Asher's doing. And if you don't know who Asher is, Asher is the monk who pretty much has raised Mel from childhood. So by the time we get back into the stuff that's produced, we've got this fade to black scene where the prince is resolved to capture whoever did this dastardly deed, which is basically run off with the woman that he's pledged to marry. And then it cuts to Asher. This is the guy that they're convinced is behind it. And he's basically telling Mel, you're going to have to get out of town. You got to get out of here because this is not going to go well. So the amazing thing about it is, this is the end of episode 2, and this is the beginning of episode 2. So actually, we've only got like 5 minutes to go. What is it? 4:39. Is that cool or what? I've got 4.5 minutes to go, and I'll have 2 entire 24-minute episodes done. So that's pretty cool. I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I see the ribbon. I'm going to break through it. Okay, so Claude, you said, so that part is the storyboard animate? Yeah. Yeah, what I did was originally in Tahoma, or it was actually OpenToonz at the time, I just created an image sequence. And if I put this in preview mode over here, it'll be easier to see actually. So yeah, in Tahoma, I just created an image sequence, drew all the pictures, rendered it out as an image sequence, and then brought it all into Vegas. And it's turned out, maybe somewhat surprisingly, that when I put each of these pictures at 3 seconds long, it turns out that the animatic is pretty much, I shouldn't say animatic, it's really a storyboard. Storyboard on the video editing timeline. But it turns out if you make them each 3 seconds long, at least for my storyboards, comes out about the right length. Comes out about the length that the show needs to be. So at 3 seconds per image, it's allowed me to block in the show and have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to be working with. So yeah, pretty cool. So thank you, Claude. I appreciate that. But now we have more work to do. So I'm going to come back to over to Tahoma. And by weird turn. Okay. OBS has now reconnected. Sorry about that. It's not my fault. It's OBS's fault. Okay, so one thing for those of you that every once in a while somebody will pipe in on the chat and they'll say, what's the difference between Tahoma and OpenToonz? And I always say, basically nothing. For all intents and purposes, for most people, it's the same program. With one little benefit with Tahoma2D. And the benefit, which I've stated many times, so I'm sorry if you're hearing it again, but the benefit with Tahoma is that you can cut and paste imagery across the clipboard straight into Tahoma. So I can be doing some art in Krita, for example, even something that has 5 layers or something. If I put those layers in a group, I can select the group, it'll cut it to the clipboard, and I can bring that into Tahoma. So for doing backgrounds like this sky back here and stuff like that, it's really, really, really quick and easy to just paint in a different program, paste it into Tahoma. So you can't do that with OpenToonz. However, I did want to point this out. If you go into, and this is the latest version of Tahoma, this is 1.2. If you go into the scenes in Tahoma, and I've seen this with stupid reason, magically all the thumbnails appear. Okay, so let's go back to 567 here. Give me half a second to get to the right shot. Okay, and I'm going to discard the changes on that one. But the other thing I noticed is that if you load a scene and then you say, hey, I wanna load a TLV file, like a like an image sequence like this level right here is a TLV file. It's an image sequence that uses the procedural palette. You probably are familiar with that. So each of these levels that's a smart raster level or a Toonz raster level gets saved separately from your Toonz file as a TLV file. Well, it turns out that those files are saved in the drawings folder. The problem is with Tahoma, like a lot of the time, watch it won't, it'll all work famously now, but like every other time I've tried it in the last couple days, it's like now the whole point of having a thumbnail is to be able to get a thumbnail. So you kind of sort of know what's in the file, right? And the problem with Tahoma2D is that the thumbnails don't show up. Some of them do, some of them don't. Sometimes it does like it's doing now and it takes a while and it sort of catches up and eventually you can see the thumbnails. I noticed that doesn't really happen with OpenToonz. With OpenToonz, the thumbnails always appear. So take that for what it's worth, but it's time to get back to work. Okay, so Claude says that Tahoma is easier to use and has more features. I would, you know, having used OpenToonz a lot and having used Tahoma a lot, I would say I'll stand by my assessment. To me, they're essentially the same program. And in the development, they do tend to catch up with each other too. Like the new bloom effect that showed up in Tahoma2D showed up in OpenToonz 1.5. You know. So anyway, Nutgut says, "Have you ever tried doing the vocal and SFX first to put into the animatic?" Not for this project. That's definitely common practice, obviously. In American animation, certainly. The soundtrack usually comes first. In Japanese anime, typically the voices are done afterwards. I personally don't care. The consideration for me was to be able to do the animation, get the animation well underway, figure out the workflow, you know. I wanted to get the animation done as much as possible before I involved other people. So we're at the point now, as you can see, there's only 5 minutes to go on episode 2. So I have 2 episodes that I need to go ahead and get the voices done for soon-ish. So that's on the agenda. But yeah, for me, I just didn't want to get a cast involved with something that I knew was probably going to take me a year, you know, to do. And we're at the point now where, and again, if you guys have heard this before, I apologize. I'm just kind of explaining where this project is at. Because people often ask, you know, what the status of this project is. They'll often ask, where can I watch it, you know, when it's done or whatever, right? So where we're at is that my film distributor for the films that I've written and directed is having a conversation with a representative from a sort of a middle tier streaming platform that does have an interest in looking at the show as far as maybe underwriting the production or whatever. And lacking that situation will be, I've kind of got a crowdfund ready to go, ready to launch, but I've delayed launching the crowdfund because we kind of wanted to see if this other company is going to bite on having some sort of exclusive window, you know, on the show. So yeah, it's worth looking at. We'll see what happens. So now I'm going to create a new scene. Now I've got a tough decision I need to make, because if we go back, actually I'll tell you what, I'll put this in preview mode like that so you guys can see it. More better. You'll be able to see it more better. And of course I'm going to do some of the voices too. I like to do voices. It makes me happy, doesn't it, Valerie? Oh, Valerie loves it when I do funny voices. It makes her, yes, it makes her very happy. Okay, so, yeah, I do. So, well, we've got some shots. I actually should probably, I mean, look, we've got the tent here. So this is what I do when I'm doing a new scene. For those of you who are new to the party, normally what I do is I kind of just do an assessment, like, of what what do I need to do here? What have I got to work with? What assets am I going to need? Do I need a new background painting, which is kind of an issue here? How much character animation do I need to do? In this case, you probably got a situation where you're going to draw a static drawing of his hand and then just animate it, right? So I'll probably draw the hand in its final position before he goes to grab the tent, the bottom of the tent, to lift it up, and then animate it in reverse, right? And then you could argue, should the hand, should we actually animate the hand opening or not? I could go either way on that one. It'd probably be more fun if it does move, obviously. The tent, though, if we go back in time here a little bit on our show, let's just scan through here a little bit and see what we've got. See, like this right here, this is, this is kind of the same situation as the shot that I'm getting ready to work on. Very similar situation. In fact, you know what the problem with it is, though? The problem is I'm pretty sure when I animated that, Tianara and the tent were animated together as a single. Who are you considering to hire for voices, and who will do the female characters? Well, the one voice I know I'm going to do is Asher. So if you go to my YouTube channel and the this is probably worth mentioning. Okay, so I like to let people know kind of what I'm doing, but I'm a little reticent to well, anyway, suffice to say
that the voice of Asher is my voice. If you watch the introductory video, when you come to my YouTube channel, you will find that Asher is the voice you hear.
And that's my voice. I may even do Mel. If I kind of use a voice like this, kind of almost my normal voice, I think maybe I could do Mel. I did some tests with the last movie that I produced that you can find on YouTube, actually, and you can find it on Tubi. It's called Healed by Grace 2. It's a sequel to another movie I did about almost 10 years ago, actually. But I sort of tested the girl that played the lead in that movie, and then I tested my daughter, Natalie, actually, who played the lead in Healed by Grace, which was certainly my most successful film. That was almost 10 years ago now. And Natalie won that contest, so I'm pretty sure she's going to be doing the voice of Tianara. Everybody else is up for grabs, and I've had a number of people, because I know a lot of actors because of my film work. I know some people that are really wanting to break into voice acting, and I don't know how much my project will help their career, frankly. But I'm like, if you want me to find a role for you, let you get a screen credit, which is kind of valuable if you're, kind of into that sort of thing, if you're an actor. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it. I'm sort of, as I get closer to being like, okay, I really need to get the voices done, I'm going to go ahead and get back with everybody, probably on Facebook and stuff like that, and just say, okay, guys, here's the script, and I'll issue the sides. And sides are, if you don't know what sides are in the acting world, that would be like the little pieces of the script that you're giving the actors to do their screen test. And you know what? The last 2 movies I've done, we've actually done all the screen testing on YouTube. So people just make a YouTube video, and so that's how we do it, and it works. So anyway, I've got a the other one I thought about was if I think about being witty high with my voice and a girl, my friend Gita might be a candidate to do a voice. And actually, you guys, if you guys like Claude, you probably remember Maria, and Nutgut too. Maria Torres, who always shows up here on the chat. She's not here tonight apparently, but she actually sent me a voice demo, because she's an actress. She's really involved with some acting stuff in New York City, and she sent me a demo recording, and I haven't made a final decision on it, but I liked her voice and thought she might work for Fala, this girl I mentioned just a bit ago when I was going through the animatic, the servant girl Fala, considering Maria for that role. So, yeah, there you go. Work, work, work. Lots of work to do. So, the first thing we definitely need to do here is get this first scene dialed in, which I darn well ought to do since I've been live streaming for a half hour already. And, you know, and I would say this, too. You know, the unspoken question might be, would I consider anyone as a voice? And the answer is, yes. Claude, I don't know yet, but I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what I did when I was making films, okay? And this may sound like a lot, and it might sound like very little, okay? But when I was making films, which the last one I made, I think I finished it in, was 3 years ago. I actually had a standard scale that I paid my actors. Most of them were non-union, okay? So what I would do is I would pay these people $20 an hour up to $100 a day. Okay? Now, again, that probably doesn't sound like very much money. And it's not. It's not. But my budgets were really, really meager. And for most of the people that I employed, it was just to get a film credit in a movie that was going to be distributed around the world was a big deal. I mean, that was worth way more than anything I was going to pay them, probably, right? And so I'm kind of from the Roger Corman school. I'm a bit of a cheapskate, but at the same time, you know, it depends on the situation, you know. But most of these people were not professional actors. Now, if you watch the movie, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be, whoa, you know, these are just like local actors, but, you know, because some of them are really, really good. But yeah, that was the rate. That was the scale, was $20 an hour up to $100 a day. Now, in the reality, if that was the scale, most people that are going to play a role in one of these shows are going to wind up making, you know, maybe between $20 and $50 because they're, I mean, you can voice a whole show in an hour pretty easily. I mean, they're 24-minute episodes, for crying out loud. So it's not like it really takes that long to do for a reasonably skilled actor. So anyway, this is shot number 569. So let's do this. Let's set our output settings first. Right out of the gate. Let's go plus scenes. Now, Sean Young costs quite a bit more than that, but she's a Hollywood actress, so I had to pay her. Actually, I would probably be remiss to tell people what I paid Sean Young, so we'll keep that a secret between me and her. Let's just say that it was a manageable sum. Well, I'll tell you this. I can say this. People who work in film distribution usually are amazed to find this out. But the last film I made, the entire out-of-pocket cost, what I literally had to pull out of my wallet to pay. I had to open my wallet and pay people. The entire film cost me about $8,000 to make, which is insanely cheap. So we're going to save this as 569. But the reality is every single film I made, all of them, cost about $8,000 to make. And the reason was you can find locations really easily. I mean, it's anybody who ever pays for a location is nuts because it's easy to find movie locations. But all of that money went to the actors, like 100%, all of it. When I was making films, I literally gave all the money to the actors, and so each film cost about $8,000 because you're usually dealing with about the same number of actors. Doesn't matter the movie, you know, you're usually dealing with a cast of about the same size. You don't pay extras typically. You know, they're there for the thrill of being in a movie, you know. So let's see here. We're gonna I am actually gonna use my charcoal pencil to sketch this just for fun. Let's do a pencil test. All right, so I'm gonna work this. Oh heck, let's just do it this way. Okay, so there's his wrist. Okay, he's got his little wrist wrap thing. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and give myself more work to do because it's fun. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these fingers like this, kind of put the rest of them as sort of a little web of shape, if you will. Okay, and this is slightly big. Yep, that's about right. Something like that. Okay, so should I turn on onion skins? Why not? Alright, so now I'm just gonna slip this down a little further. And now what we're gonna do, I'm just doing it this way to challenge myself. There's way easier ways to do what I'm doing here. But what the heck? I always have more fun when I actually do more frame by frame animation, just because it's fun to do, you know. So I can afford Harmony. Toon Boom, you mean? Yeah, if I wanted. You know what? I said this the other day actually because somebody else asked. If I liked TV Paint, you know, a one-time cost of $1,000 for a really good tool is not that much. I mean, people pay way more than that for good quality tools. I use OpenToonz because I like OpenToonz. I mean, obviously the result looks pretty good. I mean, I'd like to think so. So there's no compelling reason for me to use Adobe Animate or Toon Boom or any, you know, TV Paint, whatever. No reason. I just don't see it. I use Blender, Krita, and OpenToonz. Unless you count, I mean, I count Tahoma and OpenToonz as the same program, right? But I would certainly pay. Well, I pick on TV Paint only because I know what it costs. You know, basically they charge you $1,000, and I think once you buy it, you're kind of a customer for life kind of thing. I think. So I don't know. But Harmony I don't like. Like Toon Boom, that whole thing, I don't really enjoy it. You know, I used a crack or a demo of it years ago. I tried it and it's like, not really into the I'm not that big on vectors for one thing. I find that their promise and their, you know, the actual experience and the promise don't necessarily line up that well. But I mean, to be, you know, let's be honest, most most network television cartoons are probably made with a program like Harmony. So, you know, don't take my word for it. You know, everybody has to decide for themselves what they think is the right tool for the job. Okay, so this is actually working out okay. I'm going to stretch that finger out a little bit more. Alright, and then again, I'm literally doing it this way just to give myself more work to do, just because it's fun. And frankly, I don't know if I'm going to get much past this shot tonight, because I'm a little fried, to tell you the truth. So, but I just thought it might be fun to get on and, you know, do a little bit of work anyway. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm kind of scooping his hand underneath like he's going to try to get under the... I would rather download Harmony 20 once a new version of Toon Boom is released. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a... I mean, I don't really have anything against Harmony. A lot of people like it, obviously, so, you know, it's all good. It's just not my cup of tea. At least the versions I've played around with, I'd much rather work in OpenToonz. Right, right, right. Well, I mean, people pirate all the time. I mean, I've got a crack of TV Paint, on this machine, but I don't really use it. I mean, I just got it because I wanted to give it a try and see if I liked it. And it's like, if I like it, I'll buy it. But, pirating has been a thing for a long time. I mean, I remember back in the day, people would pirate 3D Studio Max and Maya because, I mean, these programs cost $10,000. Just, one seat. They were incredibly expensive. Okay, so if the bottom of the tent is here, probably going to want to... I think that works. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and delineate this to show where the edge of the tent would be. So we're going to kind of have a little bit of a sense of some maybe patchy grass or something here, but that's pretty much the concept. Right. Okay, so normally, let's see here. I think what I'll do is, let's make some assumptions here. Assumption number one is that I'm actually going to start here and probably bring this down something like that, and then let the animation kick in, right? So then when it gets to here, pretty much the shot is over. And even that, honestly, that's even a little slow. Let's do it like this. There we go. And maybe, it's amazing how much characterization you can get out of a freaking hand. The thing I'm wondering is if I should actually stretch this out a couple frames. Let me just see what that feels like. Nah. I'm just complicating things for no good reason. That'll work. Alright, save your work. Okay, so now I'll just do this my usual way, which is to typically what I would do is turn down the opacity of this level so that it just can serve as a guide, and then I'm going to hit the B key and create a new TLV smart raster level to act as my ink. Right? Okay, so ink-wise, I've been finding that for something like this, I don't know if I want the smoothing on, actually. I want it to be a little looser feeling, I think. Okay, and also, to keep things simple, let's just delete these animation keys. That, like I said, that makes it a little simpler. So, we're going to... And by the way, something I've been doing on the last few shots I've been producing is... I've got I think it's the scene is set at full HD, but the camera is still looking at a broadcast HD zone. And that gives me the ability to routinely have drawings that are bigger than what the camera sees. So if I want to do a simple panning over the background or something like that, it's pretty easy to do. So I've been trying to crack Toon Boom Studio for months, even though it's now an extinct program with the source code on a lot of free program downloading websites, and I still can't. Huh. Well, what do you mean by trying to crack it? Are you a programmer and you're actually trying to like load it up in a debugger and mess around with the assembler code? That's an impressive thing to do, I must say. If that's what you mean. Unless you mean find a cracked copy of it. Actually, I think I will turn the smoothing back on. Yeah, that is better. Yeah, I have a copy of Toon Boom that I've never really used. It's a cracked copy from, gosh, it's got to be from at least 10 years ago. It's a really old version. It's from way before they called it Harmony, actually, if I remember correctly. But yeah, not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea, friends. Nope, nope, nope. It's just not. So this may not be as fun and glamorous to look at as maybe... by the way, his arm's going to probably get so it's stretched like stupid looking. This doesn't matter. I'm just doing that so this area will fill when I use the fill tool. Could I show it? I don't know if it's on this machine. I would have to look. I don't know. You mean the version of Toon Boom that I have? Where the heck would that be? I'm looking. You know what? I do. I can't believe it's actually here. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Toon Boom Studio it's called. So I'm probably gonna do, invite all kinds of legal problems by even opening this, because like I said, I don't use it and I don't like it, but yeah, it's Toon Boom Studio 7.1. And then, something's probably gonna crash because I don't even know if it works. But yeah, there it is. Toon Boom Studio. So 7.1, you can look that. I assume what you're doing is you're saying, hey, what version is it you have a crack of? Because maybe I can find the crack if I search for it, like on Pirate Bay or something. Maybe, I don't know. I would encourage you though, if you really like the tool, obviously support the devs and buy it. But I can also see the point of wanting to be able to fully try it before you commit to buying it as well, since it can be an expensive proposition. It definitely can. That's always been true. Animation software, it's like I said about Maya. I had almost $4,000 into 3D Studio Max back in 1998, 99 period of time. I mean, so not cracked. I had many thousands of dollars into 3D Studio Max back in the day. And then believe it or not, this is the truth. I discovered Blender and I liked Blender better. Now, so I don't have to keep well, it makes it, I can do the onion skinning that way. So I've been trying to crack 8.1. It's the last version of Studio before its discontinuation. Oh, okay. Yeah, I personally wouldn't even bother with it just because I just don't like the program. Not my cup of tea, as I said. I mean, to me, OpenToonz is way... Since I'm bringing it up, let me ask you this. Let me ask you, if now that OBS is reconnecting, let me ask you flat out, what is it you like about it? I mean, why do you like Harmony or Toon Boom? Is it because of it's a vector-based thing? Because if it is, my question to anybody that's into vectors is why? What is it about vectors that you think so great? I used to think they were, there's a seductive attraction to vectors because they're scalable, basically. And what I found is that in real actual practice, doing real actual work, the benefit is negligible. It's like not even a benefit at all. Because there just aren't enough situations where having those scalable assets actually matters. That's been my experience anyway. Now other people may disagree, of course. So yeah, what's your reason for liking Harmony, Claude? I mean, obviously if you like it enough to like knock yourself out trying to either crack it or get a crack of it, then you must really love it for some reason. And then of course, the obvious question somebody would ask would be, well, if you love it so much, why don't you buy it? But, you know, I understand. For some people, it really is prohibitively expensive. It just costs too much. You know, it is what it is. And I also think, see, we're getting into some philosophical territory here. Like I never do that, right? But, you know, if a young person's wanting to learn to animate, one obvious question that's worth asking is whether, you know, because there can be a period of time that's pretty long where you're poking at animation and software and tools and all the rest. So what I'm about to say here is the type of thing that probably most people that would most need to hear it are going to be the very people who are going to go, oh, that guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and they're not going to want to listen to me. Okay? But this is the point I would make. It is so easy to, I like it because Studio was better and cheaper, and Harmony's basically the Autodesk Maya of 2D animation. Okay. Well, I can't argue with you. I mean, obviously, when 7.1 was new, you know, I'm pretty sure there were a lot of broadcast network television cartoons that were created with it. So I've never gone a deep enough dive with it to really get past the initial dislike that I had. You know, because I used to work a little bit with, you know, Corel Rave was kind of a, with the Corel 9 suite, you know, Corel Draw. The Corel Rave was sort of their knockoff of Flash, and it kind of felt sort of halfway between Flash and Harmony, actually. And I didn't like using it either. You know, you draw this stuff. You couldn't sketch, you know? You couldn't sketch. You had to draw with precision, and then you'd have all these little Bezier curve editing nodes that just didn't seem that useful. You know, it's like it made more sense to just learn to draw, right, than to have to do all that editing. I think it and OpenToonz and Tahoma2D are equals because both of them are similar. Yeah, like I said, I haven't bumped into anything that I haven't been able to do with OpenToonz. Now, obviously, I used Krita a lot. I still do. As a guy that likes to paint, you know, digital painting kind of stuff, there are definitely reasons to prefer Krita over OpenToonz. Definitely. But on balance, over the last month, I've been pretty rigorously sticking to Tahoma, and what I found is that everything that like, remember when I started today? When I started today, I showed you this gradient. You can see it in every one of these shots. You can see that there's a gradient, you know, around the screen in overlay mode. I used to do that all the time in Krita, and I was like, man, it's so quick and easy to do, which it is. The thing is, it's like 14 seconds, takes 14 seconds longer to do the same thing in OpenToonz. Not only that, if you do it in OpenToonz through the schematic, then you can bake that into future scenes that you do, so it's already ready to go. So you only have to do it once. With Krita, you have to keep reinventing the wheel all the time. Claude, that's a good point, though. But I'll be honest with you. If I wasn't using Tahoma or OpenToonz, and I wanted to get into a rigging-based puppet approach, I'd be using Blender. I mean, I'd be all over Blender, because Blender, there's certainly there might be tools that are more efficient in terms of the way they work for 2D rigging in Harmony. That's true with OpenToonz too. I mean, the plastic tool and the way you can set up hierarchies in the schematic and then use the oh doggone it, what do they call it? The skeleton tool. You know, you can set up a really complex rig in OpenToonz and control it with either the skeleton tool or the plastic tool, depending on whether you want deformation or not. I mean, You know, that's just my opinion. I feel like the tools are pretty freaking complete. So, but hey, you know, other people may feel differently. Okay, I need to be in normal mode. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Uh-oh. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay, and I need his, like, wrap thingy-dingy, which is pretty much that color. So, that took care of that. Alright, so let's save our work, and then I think I'm going to want to, in this case, okay, this actually gets into what I was talking about earlier with the post effects. Now, I could do a shadow situation here, right? I could use a vector layer or a, you know, a separate raster level to add shadows. But I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna do it the way I've been doing it lately because it really works well. Claude says both are also one of the only 2D softwares on the market which has the ability to scan paper animation drawings for coloring and compositing. Okay, you're freaking me out a little bit with that statement, since at the risk of being argumentative, could I point this out? OpenToonz has actually been around for 20 years, since way before it was free. And this whole cleanup mode is a really deep dive method for scanning pencil art and cleaning it up. I mean, that's where Toonz comes from. That's what Toonz was. Before it even had drawing tools, it was all for scanning. That's what, when people talk about Studio Ghibli or Futurama, you know, using Toonz, which it did, that's what it was used for, is the scanning of pencil art. So I'm not quite sure where okay. And node editors, I mean, that's what this is. You're talking about the schematic? You're talking about the node-based compositing? I think you're losing me here, Claude. I'm the features you're citing are actually areas where OpenToonz is really strong. Like, it isn't even weak. I mean, because it's got its weak points. Believe me, OpenToonz and Tahoma have their weak points, but scanning pencil art and or compositing, neither one of those areas are areas where it's weak at all. So yeah, you're freaking me out a little bit here, buddy. Okay, so now I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to go into the schematic and I'm going to make this look better quick. And here's how. I'm going to go into, I said the effects schematic. I'm going to take this, and Claude wants node-based compositing, I guess. Well, look at all these effects that we can add. Now, it's not perfect. I mean, it performs better than Blender's node-based compositing, but in terms of things like color correction and certainly motion tracking, it's not as complete as Blender. I mean, Blender's definitely a little stronger. But anyway, so I want to go to light, body highlight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to invert it, and I'm going to change the color to black. Look at that. How freaking easy was that? I'm going to make this like a 2 pixel blur, so it's really, really... I mean, dude, that's pretty easy. That's pretty easy right there. Alright. Now, as you can see right there, it's not perfect. If you were going to make it more perfect, in this case, what you'd probably do is you'd probably make the X... let me think here. No, actually, you'd probably make the Y 0. Yeah, so it's not coming off the top like that. There you go. Yep, there you go. That's more like it. Pretty quick and easy way to make shadows. Definitely impressive. Okay, so we'll save that. Well, it's all good, Claude. I appreciate the conversation. You know, it's pretty pretty dull out here all by myself in the middle of nowhere. But no, you're just kind of confusing me. Because those are areas of strength for the software. That's all. So, and I'd hate to have you. Okay, let me say this. This is actually the point I was making when I said the people who need to hear this won't listen. This is what I was gonna say. What I was gonna say is, it's so easy to find cracked software so that you can try Harmony, you can try Flash, you can try Maya, you can try 3D Studio Max, you can try, take your pick, TV Paint, you can try them all. And what I think there's a case to be made that if you didn't have that ability to try all this cracked software, then you would have only one piece of software and you'd learn it. You'd learn to do with that software what I have learned to do with many tools that I've used over the years, which is you wind up actually pushing them way past even the limits that people thought the software had. The gospel truth is that from everything you've said so far, Claude, if I was going to give you a piece of advice that you will come back a year from now, if you do what I'm about to say, you're going to come back to me a year from now and you're going to go, oh my God, Dave, I'm so glad I listened to you. Okay? Stop everything you're doing. Forget Harmony. Forget everything. And devote yourself 100% to learning Blender. I kid you not. Not OpenToonz, not Tahoma, not Krita, Blender. Learn Blender. Learn the Blender grease pencil and everything else that you're saying you want to be able to do. I mean, come on. I've done motion tracking shots in feature films. Motion tracking shots in 3D where I put digital makeup on a person. In a movie where you couldn't tell it was done. You know, it was an invisible effect because somebody had a zit right in the middle of her forehead. There's actually a video about it on my YouTube channel. But I use motion tracking in Blender to do that. I had another movie where there was a whole bunch of sets. There was a whole bunch of sets that were virtual backgrounds that weren't real. All done in Blender, right? And for what I'm doing, OpenToonz or Tahoma is the right solution. I've done plenty of shots. Okay, I think Nadesan is saying to you, Claude, listen to what Dave's saying. I think that's what he's saying. Is Dave's telling you. Right. What I'm telling you, Claude, is you could even forget about OpenToonz. If you want to integrate with 3D models, then obviously, oh my God, Blender is more capable than 3D Studio Max and Maya put together. They've even got node-based. They even have node-based modeling now with Blender 2.9, I think 3 it is. I mean, those guys, and I know Ton Rosendahl, the guy that created Blender. I've met him. He is a really smart guy and a good guy. And I think that there have been bumps in the road of Blender's development, but I've been using Blender for 20 years. I've been using it since you were born, probably. Okay? Blender, everything you, Claude, are saying is important to you, Blender does really, really, really well. It's vector-based, if you want to talk about the Blender grease pencil. It's completely scalable procedural vectors. It's got procedural palettes like OpenToonz does for the color work. And in fact, now they've recently, with 2.9.3, they've even added the ability to use the grease pencil to do all kinds of like animated brushes and things like that, like for foliage. I mean, dude, stop everything. Quit looking for cracked software and go learn Blender, because you know what? Not only that, not only would you learning Blender allow you to create, I'll bet, anything you want to create, you'd be able to create in Blender. You say you want a rigged situation. Nobody said you have to use the grease pencil. You can create assets, image assets in any software you want, and then rig it up in Blender, and you can use, it's got state-of-the-art rigging tools, obviously, for puppet style animation, and then you can also use things like the like shape keys, to do deformation. It's limitless. It's limitless, right? So, sorry for the lecture, but boy, Claude, I really hope you take my advice, because you're going to waste more time dicking around with software that you don't want to buy, and you're never going to get good at any of it. I'm not trying to pick on you here. I'm telling you the truth like a parent talking to the child. Okay? You will never get good with any of that software for one reason. Because you don't have to. Because you can always go check out the next piece of software. And I say that as a guy who's done it. I've tried them all. You know what I mean? I've tried this and that and the other. For a guy like you, I would bet Blender would just whip it for you. Everything you could possibly want to do, I'll bet you could do with Blender. I'm sure of it. But, there you go. That's my advice today. How do we want to do this? Gosh, maybe we should do it in Blender. There's actually a bunch of shots in this show that were done in Blender, using shape keys to do the distort the characters and like I had characters that early on. I got to show you guys this. Let's see here. Let's go here to episode 1. There was a period during episode 1 where I was pretty sure I was going to be using Blender for most of it. Almost all of these shots through the beginning of the show were done in Blender. This character here, this is grease pencil, some of them are grease pencil. I actually can't tell them apart. I can't tell the ones that are grease pencil from the ones that aren't, but yes, Sifter makes a good point about employability, but I would venture to say that employability with Blender right now, at least with the software I use, if you look at Krita and OpenToonz, I'll bet you Blender is pretty high up there in employability. I know it's certainly becoming more so every day. People want people that know how to use Blender, but it's a big learning curve. But yeah, this shot was edited in Blender, I believe. Well, okay, that's not a good example. This shot was done in Blender with shape keys, where I see his face, the way his face is scrunching around. You guys probably can't see it that well. We'll go over here. But that change in expression there was done with shape keys by taking a static drawing and just stretching it around, mapping it to a plane and stretching it around. So on and on it goes. I'm bullish on Blender. I love Blender. Like I said, I've been using it 20 years. It's just not the right tool for the thing I'm working on right now, Okay, back to work. It's better, and I'll focus on all three and focus on the expensive stuff later. That would be smart. Yeah, because you're in a very unusual time in history, Claude. This is an unusual time in history where, at least for creativity software, where we finally reached the point where the free stuff truly is just as good as the expensive stuff. And at the same time, the expensive stuff is not anywhere near as expensive as it used to be. It used to be, like I said, back in 1998, it cost me $3,000. 3D Studio Max. That was with no character animation. I had to pay extra for Character Studio. But Nate-san makes a good point too. In fact, I read Sifter's comment wrong the first time I read it, because I thought he said enjoyability, not employability, but he's correct. Both of those are right. Employability is important if you want to get a job somewhere. And then enjoyability. If you like Harmony because you really like using it, then you should use Harmony. Absolutely. No question. You know, if you love the tool and you really enjoy using that, then rock and roll, man. You know, that's all good. All right, so what are we going to do here? We're going to... I got to make a bit of a B key. I forgot. I've got... This is actually an HD level. What the heck's going on? Oh, I'm in preview mode. Duh. So, okay, what I wanted to do here is draw these lines all the way across so that it fills properly. Okay, there, that's what I was trying to do. Sorry about that. Had a stupid attack there, folks. All right, so now I'm going to just make this real kind of muted. And then I need kind of a muted pinkish color. If I just fill the rest of it, okay, there, that did the trick. Okay, cool. All right, it's like how independent animation is becoming better than industry show. Yeah, I mean, obviously, better is in the eye of the beholder. You know, so there are people doing really cool stuff with free software. There are people doing really cool stuff with commercial software. You know, it's all good. It's all good, my friend. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, I can't do this the way I do it with vectors, come to think of it. Okay, guys, I'm going to rethink this. I'm going to do this over again. I'm actually going to hit undo and see how far I get here. Now that's interesting. Okay, well, I'll just get rid of it. Okay, I'm going to use vectors for this, and I'll tell you why. If I use a vector layer or level, then I'll be able to go ahead and layer it up. I'll be able to build it up with transparency. So that may not make sense to you, so bear with me for half a second while I get this blocked in real quick, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so on this vector level, what I'm going to do is just draw a shape, okay, and it's going to get filled in automatically because I've got auto close, auto group, and auto fill turned on. So now what I'm going to do is just give it that green color that's kind of a muted, dirty color for the ground. Okay. So now I'm going to add another color that's going to be the color of the tent, more or less. Okay, and I'm just going to run this across like that. Okay. So now that gives me my starting point, and if I go like that, I can see what the camera sees, right? Okay, so I'm going to block the colors in, and this is the cool thing you can do with vectors. It's really one of the few things about vectors in OpenToonz that I do like, which is this. I can now add another palette color. If oh, it's busy saving. Okay, I'm going to add another palette color, make it black, but turn the opacity way down. Okay, now watch what I can do with this. I can go ahead and draw a shape like this, and I can just start building this up like that with multiple levels of opacity here, you know, just by making a transparent material. Really, really useful. And if, as you can see, the opacity doubles up on itself. So if I add a little bit more like this, right? So I've found that for doing backgrounds, it's quite a useful way to go. Now, if I add another, if I make this, actually, strike that. The color on the outside should actually be bright. Okay, this is the part where we get confused because we feel like we've introduced a bug. One thing you can do with vector levels as well is you can click this little box called Draw Under. And what that does is it makes it so that you can draw a shape like this, and it'll do the same thing it does in Blender with the grease pencil, which I use all the time when I use the Blender grease pencil. Oh, dude. Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize. I haven't done that in a long time. I have not done that in a long time. I apologize. I'm sitting here talking about it, and you guys didn't see any of it. Man, that's bad. Okay, well, I can still demonstrate it, because what I'm going to do is take this. The recap is I just drew the shapes with auto close and auto fill filled in. And then I just took this color, which is semi-transparent, and see what happens when I dial it in and out of the opacity level, the alpha. So I can dial it in that way. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to... Can people edit the resolution of a video animation with a video editing software from low resolution to high resolution? Like 180p to 4K. Well, of course you can scale it up, okay? If I am understanding your question, the simple answer is yeah, you can scale it up, but it's always going to blur it out to a degree. Anytime you scale something, actually up or down, it's going to introduce blurring. So if you're not clear on why that is, it's going to be because, think of it this way. Think of it this way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give a quick explanation here. Okay, maybe I'm answering the wrong question based on what Nate's son is saying. Typically nowadays, you can edit, in full HD and 4K, and you can get a full, let's say, 24 frames per second playback. If that's what you're asking, as opposed to whether you can scale something up, then that's your answer. It does depend on your computer. So, sorry if I'm asking the wrong question, or I'm answering the wrong question. I'm gonna assume sorry dude means yeah, Dave, you were basically answering the wrong question. Wouldn't be the first time. Yeah, if you wanna upscale video with to okay, well, to be fair, if you're gonna upscale from HD to 4K, you can do that, and most people actually, there's a strong case to be made that for most video under most circumstances, it literally would not matter. I need to turn off draw under so I'm not drawing under every time. I'm just going to put in sort of a little okay. What is going on here? Autofill. There we go. Boy, see, this is where I don't like the vectors. Hate to tell ya. It's not all good. But, it's a background, and we really want this to be simple. And frankly, probably, let me see what his hand does here. Let me slip this down here. Yeah, and when it's rendered, we get that. So we really just need to make a cast shadow, and this would be looking fine. So, working on sprites, huh? Yeah, Sifter. Okay, so put it this way. The only reason I would ever shoot something in 4K is if I specifically wanted to be able to then crop in and get multiple shots out of a single shot. You're shooting one really wide shot, but the resolution of 4K is so high that you can zoom into a little box basically in the 4K frame and still have a perfectly sharp image. So that's a nice thing if you want to use it. I don't have much use for that in practice, but I could see where it could be useful in some circumstances. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go like this. And I think I've closed that shape. I didn't, rats. I'm going to solo that level, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to have to blur this out a little bit too. So, alright. So now we're going to go boom, boom. Okay, so actually, let's just think here, Dave. Alright. So now I'm going to go like that. I gotta think about what I'm doing as far as animating the hand. The astute viewer will will complain that the way I'm doing this shadow actually doesn't make sense. Okay? Just so you guys know, I'm aware of that. I am keenly aware of that. For one thing, where did his body go? You know, how come the shadow's not attached to the rest of him? I get it. This is an animation thing, okay? So you'll just have to trust me on this one. All right, I'm gonna go like that, and then I'm going to Speedy and the Dan Man, huh? You like the hand, huh, Sifter? Thanks, man. 4K is overkill for 2D animation. Well, that's right. I mean, some of the anime stuff. Last time I checked, anyway, you know, some anime is still done at like 960 by whatever it would be to be an HD frame. It wouldn't be 640, but you know, I mean. And it gets scaled up, and that's why a lot of anime that you watch actually has a nice softness to it. It's got a little bit of a soft look. Well, that's because it's actually scaled up. It's no big deal. Now, nowadays, most of it, I suppose, probably originates at full HD, but it's really not necessary. It depends partly on the aesthetic you're going for. So, that's definitely not going to be right. Let's turn the, yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is make that maybe probably 20. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then what we're going to do is go to our scene settings, and we're going to enable that so that this opacity propagates properly. Okay. Do I know bloop animation? I mean, I offhand, no. I mean, I've heard of bloop animation. I don't know what that is, though. What is bloop animation? I Googled it. Oh, premium online animation courses for aspiring filmmakers. Yeah, bloop is doing exactly what I don't do, which is really try to educate people. Spank me. I made a command decision when I started this channel that I was not going to be about educating people as much as just showing the real process as it goes. I do a fair amount of educating, that's a fact, but okay, so yeah, to be fair, this doesn't really make sense. You know, from the standpoint of the way the shadow's working. But that's okay. What we're going to do is go like that, right? And we'll scale it up just a little bit so there's an animation key. And then here, what we're going to do is scale it down. And then I'm thinking in this case, I'm also going to move it. So the shadow's going to go like that. Okay, but when it gets here, I want it to be more like that. So, ta-da. Okay, and then the final position's a little off, frankly. That it really needs to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut out that animation key and slide this one up. Okay. Oh shoot, that got rid of the scaling. Phooey, 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 I say. Oh, and it's screwing up everything. Wow. Okay. Well, this is one of the bugs in Tahoma. definitely. All right, so I'm going to work backwards. We'll change the position and the scale a little bit, just so there's a key there. Okay, and then I'll go to here, go like that, set the position, and then if I go here, I should be able to go. So I should have done that in the first place. I should have worked backwards. I was a silly goose. Okay, now you'll see when it previews that it kind of works. What is this show called? It's called Salt and Light. Well, hey Claude, have you checked out Darren's course? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Darren's course gets into animation too much. I don't know, but it'd be worth checking out. I mean, Darren T, I know he's got a course on OpenToonz. So, I don't know what Blue has. You don't really need... okay, look. If you want to do stop motion animation, Claude, then just go to the stop motion window and plug in your webcam, because as you can see here, Tahoma recognizes my webcam, and I could actually take my face and start capturing frames of it if I wanted to. Now it probably would have a problem because I'm actually live streaming and OBS is using the webcam, but I mean, that's it. It's ready to go. You just point your camera at something and start capturing frames. So it's, I don't know how you can get much easier than that. Yeah, thank you, Nate. I appreciate that, because I haven't, I haven't taken Darren's course because I don't need to, but I'm sure it's really, really useful for somebody that's just... Oh, he did. Okay, so I did not know that. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yep, your best thing you can do is just start working with it. Just start working with the software. The moments that you're going to experience where you're frustrated because you don't know how to do things, where you're forced to read the docs or ask questions on Discord or whatever, that is necessary. Can I say this to you guys? That is the universe testing you. Claude, everything that you see as a limitation, like I wish they made a course on this. I wish they had whatever, whether it's a software or whether it's a course or whatever it is you think you want. That's the universe testing you. The universe says, Claude, do you really want to do this animation thing? Are you really seriously? You really want to do it? Or are you just kind of talking about it? What are you doing? If you don't go through the pain of bumping into problems with the software tool where you have to go and read the docs and really go through some difficulty trying to solve that problem, then you haven't paid the price to really be able to use that software and get anything done with it. You really haven't paid the price if you don't go through that. So my suggestion is go through that and make as many mistakes as possible as fast as possible. Because the quicker you make all the mistakes and run into all the problems, the quicker you're going to be an expert. And then you'll be able to focus. You're not going to be thinking about whether this or that software has just the exact trick I think I need up its sleeve. You're going to be thinking about the story you want to tell. You're going to be thinking about the content, not the tools. The tools are just a means to an end. And they all suck. And they're all great. They're great and they suck at the same time. And there is no magic bullet. There is no perfect software tool. I've been looking for one for decades. It doesn't exist. Blender's great. Blender sucks. Krita's great. And Krita sucks. OpenToonz great. And it sucks. Trust me. I'm really know what I'm talking about in this regard. But if you don't pay the price of working with it yourself and just freaking figure it out however you have to do it, then you haven't paid the price. And you have to pay the price. If you want to actually do what you think you want to do, you have to pay the price. Dude, pay the price. And be glad you can pay it, and it's free. All it costs is your time. It does take your time. Yep. Absolutely. I've had, you know, Tahoma actually did something glitchy just a minute ago. Like 5 minutes ago. The undo in Tahoma is a little flaky with some paths you go down in terms of the steps you take creating drawings and animation keys and stuff, and then you hit undo and it undoes the animation keys but not the drawings or vice versa. There's some wacky stuff there. Okay, so I need scene number 5. Is it 569? I think it is. Yep, 569. Render. Okay, so this is definitely as far as I'm going to get tonight. I've done more yakking than animating, but hey, man, you know, I'm just here to have fun and do what I do. So this is 569. So we got to scroll down here because this is because I opened up the other scene. All right. Okay, so there's that, and this properties need to disable resample. Okay, so let's see what we got. I'll just switch it back over here, and boom, baby. The scene I just did is coming up next-ish. The letter. You know what's funny about this shot? The irony of what we're seeing right here is that, okay, this is so stupid. This is indescribably stupid. I did something indescribably stupid. Okay. You can't believe what I just did. Okay, guys. I drew this whole scene, believe it or not, thinking he's inside the tent. So, okay, so for those of you that are purists, you're going to choke on this, but I'm going to tell you something. This is hilarious. This is a good example of the kind of thing where I'm going to say, you know what, the audience is never going to notice, they're never going to care, it doesn't matter. And I'm probably right. However, those of you who are purists are going to be puking on that, and here's why. Because all of this texture on the tent is going the wrong way. It should be going, and then OBS disconnects. Go figure. What time is it? 8:30? I gotta get it. It only goes by in literally 2 seconds. They're not going to look at it and go, oh, you know, the tent looks wrong. But just to be fair and accurate, the tent is wrong. Now here's how I'm going to fix it. You guys watch this. This is going to blow your mind how I'm going to fix this. Are you ready? Watch closely. Boom. It's supposed to be like this. And by the way, that is a little too opaque. So let me just dial it down a little bit. Wow, that's like one of the stupidest things I've done this week. But hey, stuff happens, right? Okay, and by the way, since I'm doing this anyway, since I'm sort of touching this up a bit, why don't we actually punch it up even more? I'm going to go ahead and add another level, and I'm going to actually do it like this. I'm going to go ahead and put the seam on the tent that I had not bothered to put in the earlier version of this shot. So I'm going to go like this. And then what I'm going to do is add a transparent white. Okay. You'll see this will make sense here in half a second. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just go right along here. Put a shape in there, and then we're going to just dial this thing down until it just gives us a little sense of a seam. You know how that tent's sewn together. And then what we'll do is we'll just go like this. Look at that. So you know what? It took all of 2 minutes to fix that problem, and now the shot is going to look better than it did before. So well worth it, people. Well worth it. And you see, I know my software so well because I've done that hard work of learning it, that I knew that deleting the palette entry would solve the problem. It would get rid of everything that made the tent look wrong. Crazy, huh? I'm going to add a little bit more. Yep, there we go. Now, I did lose also this stuff, so what I'm going to do, since he is outside, I can be actually a little more liberal with my grass. You see how well, that didn't work. Everything goes my way, doesn't it? Everything always goes my way. Okay. Boom. All right, let's see if it looks somewhat improved now. Okay. Now the only thing I would actually change is the shadow is pretty lame. The truth of the matter is that this should be probably, I should probably just stretch this out like that and fill that in. Okay, let's see what that does. Yep, perfect. Go like that. I'm just going to go ahead and, I need to give a sense of his body kind of being out there somewhere. Right. Yep, there we go. Okay, let me see. Okay, and now I actually don't like the level of blur. I want to dial that down a bit. So, boom, boom. Let's make that like 8 pixels. I like the transparency of it, but I don't like the blur. That's how quick it renders, by the way. It renders fast. And, yep, that's better. There we go. Now, if you're going to argue that this is problematic, which is reasonable, it's reasonable. Yeah, everybody talks about Mary and the Witch's Flower because of it having used Toonz for something. I think they used it for scan and clean up, you know. They didn't use it for digital animation the way we use it. But, yeah. Yep, that's a thing. So here what I want to do is I'm actually going to create another drawing. Boom. Right here, I'm going to go D. Stretch this down. Okay. Why did we do that? I did that so that right here I can go, and by the way, I'm going to save all because Tahoma's a little persnickety about spontaneously created vector drawings on a vector level, so I just want to be a little careful here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is go like this. And then I'm going to take this. Okay, and I think I actually want kind of an outline color. I'm going to have to really zoom in here. Hit the B key. Let's turn these guys off. Okay, we have a little problem. This needs to be like a max of 5. Okay, and we don't want that to be so transparent. But we don't want it to be too opaque either. Something like that would probably be okay. Something like that. Okay, N key. There we go. Close enough for rock and roll. Oh, hey, I mentioned you tonight, Maria. They were talking about yeah, and I'm pretty much done actually, but yeah, we were talking about voices for the show, and I had mentioned that you had sent me a audition thingy dingy that I still have, and I just haven't gotten to the getting official about the casting thing. Okay, so I'm gonna make a little change here. Delete that. Delete that. Let's redo those. I'm gonna actually try to do this more like a proper highlight. But yeah, thanks for coming out, Maria. Alright, I think that did it. So yeah, I'm pretty much wrapping up. I haven't been streaming too much this last week. And the only thing I still don't like, I think I want to tighten this up too. I think this looks a little stupid. Just want to punch up that shading under there. That's better. Okay, and by the way, this color, let's see. Yes. Okay. Yeah, because the color outside, I mean, when I was thinking he was inside the tent, I figured it'd be light on the outside, and it's the opposite. It's actually darker on the inside. So, alright, so we're going to render this, see how she looks, and then I'm basically done for tonight. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, that worked. That worked. I'm satisfied. And then he's poking around. There's the bag he's looking for. Oh, it's just so exciting. Yep, I thought of you, Maria. So, well, good deal. We've got about 4.5 minutes to go to get episode 2 done. And so with that, my friends, I am going to sign off. And as you know,